My husband slapped me when I told him I was pregnant. Evan and I had been trying to have a baby for 2 years. We've had 2 years of negative tests and wondering if something was wrong with me. Then last month I missed my period. Then I took 5 tests in one sitting because I couldn't believe the first 4. When those 2 pink lines finally appeared, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried until my sister Carrie talked me down through the phone. She told me I needed to tell everyone and make it special. Don't just blurt it out over dinner. Throw a party, invite everyone who matters. Turn this into a memory we'd tell our kid about someday. So that's exactly what I did. 7 weeks later, my house was packed with everyone I loved. My parents stood by the appetizer table. Carrie kept shooting me excited glances from across the room. Evan's parents had flown in from Arizona, and his younger brother Jeff had shown up early to help me set chairs and arrange the gift table. Evan worked the crowd like he always did, shaking hands and making people laugh, being the charming husband I'd fallen for 6 years ago. I watched him from the kitchen doorway and felt my heart swell. Tonight, I was going to make him the happiest man alive. I grabbed a fork, tapped it against my wine glass, and the room slowly went quiet. 40 faces turned toward me. My mom was already tearing up and she didn't even know yet. Evan made his way through the crowd and stood beside me, his arm wrapping around my waist. He looked at me with warm, curious eyes, completely clueless as to what I was about to say. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice shaking a little. "I know some of you traveled really far, and I promise it's worth it." I looked up at Evan and smiled. "We're having a baby. I'm pregnant." The room exploded. My mom screamed. My dad started clapping so hard I thought he'd hurt his hands. Carrie was jumping up and down yelling, "I knew it," even though she actually did know. Everyone was hugging and crying, and the energy in that room felt like pure love. I turned to Evan, expecting him to lift me up or spin me around or do something romantic. Instead, he was frozen. His arm had dropped from my waist. His face had gone completely white. "Evan?" I reached for him. "Baby, aren't you excited? We're finally going to be parents." And that's when it came. The slap to my face that hit so hard I crashed backward into the gift table. The pain was instant and blinding, like someone had taken a hot skillet and pressed it flat against my skin. The music kept playing for 3 more seconds before someone killed it, and then there was nothing. Just silence. Just the ringing in my ear where his hand had landed. I looked up at my husband from the floor and didn't recognize the man standing over me. His face was twisted into something ugly, his chest heaving, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "You cheating whore!" he yelled. "You really thought you could pass off someone else's baby as mine?" I couldn't speak. My cheek was on fire and my brain couldn't process what was happening. "Evan, what are you talking about?" I finally managed. "I've never cheated on you. I would never do that to you." He laughed and it sounded like something breaking. "Stop lying." He was screaming now, veins bulging in his neck, spit flying from his mouth. "You can't be pregnant with my baby Marina. I had a vasectomy 4 years ago before we even got married. I can't have babies." The words hit me harder than his hand did. A vasectomy. 4 years ago. He'd been letting me cry over negative tests for 2 years, knowing the whole time it was impossible. "So whose is it?" he continued, his voice getting louder. "Who have you been sleeping with behind my back? How long has this been going on?" The room was still dead silent. My mother had her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. My father looked like he wanted to end someone but couldn't make his legs move. And then someone was kneeling beside me, warm hands on my shoulders, helping me sit up, brushing glass away from my dress. I looked and it was Jeff, his face pale with shock as he stared at his brother like he was seeing a monster. "What the hell is wrong with you?" Jeff said, his voice shaking with anger. "You just hit your pregnant wife in front of everyone." He helped me to my feet and positioned himself between me and Evan like a shield. Evan was pacing back and forth like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair. 2 years I let you make me feel guilty for not giving you a baby. And this whole time you were spreading your legs for someone else? He turned to the room, arms wide, like he was inviting everyone to see what I really was. Look at her. Look at her standing there pretending to be confused. She knows exactly what she did. She knows exactly whose baby that is. So there I was, face-stinging entire family watching accused of cheating by my own husband. And the worst part? Evan had proof. A vasectomy I never knew about. In his mind, this pregnancy was impossible unless I slept with someone else. I demanded a paternity test. It would take a week to come back. 7 days until I could prove I was innocent. But I didn't know that those 7 days would be the worst of my life. Because while I waited for science to save me, everyone I loved was about to turn on me. Everyone left the party without saying goodbye. They just grabbed their coats and filed out one by one, eyes down, mouths shut. My parents were the last to go. My father hugged me so tight it hurt and whispered, "I'll kill him if you want me to." But I shook my head because I still believed this was a misunderstanding. When the door finally closed, I turned around and Evan was already walking toward our bedroom. "Evan," I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted it to. "Please just listen to me. I don't know how to explain this, but I haven't been with anyone else. You're the only man I've been with in 6 years. There has to be another explanation." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just this cold, empty sound that made me feel sick. "Another explanation? For how you got pregnant by a man who can't make babies?" He took a step toward me. I flinched. I actually flinched away from my own husband, and I watched that register on his face. For half a second, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or recognition of what he'd done. But then it was gone, replaced by that hard, angry mask. "I'd love to hear it, Marina. Really. Enlighten me." I had nothing. No explanation. No defense except my own word, which clearly meant nothing to him anymore. Then let's do a paternity test, I said. Let's prove it scientifically. Because when that test comes back showing you're the father, you're going to have to live with how you treated me tonight. You're going to have to look me in the eyes knowing you hit me and called me those things and humiliated me in front of everyone I love. Something changed in his expression. Doubt, maybe. Or fear. He was quiet for a long moment and I let the silence stretch because I needed him to feel the weight of what he'd done. Fine, he finally said. First thing tomorrow. We sat in the clinic waiting room like two strangers sharing a bus stop. Evan sat 4 chairs away from me with his arms crossed and his jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping under his skin. Every few minutes he'd glance at me and then look away like even the sight of me made him sick. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to grab his face and force him to look at me, really look at me, and see that I was telling the truth. But I just sat there with my hands folded in my lap, staring at the wall, trying not to cry in public. The nurse called my name first, and I went alone because Evan refused to be in the same room while they drew my blood. Afterwards, she told me I'd have to wait 7 to 10 business days. I sighed heavily. That meant 7 to 10 days of this hell. I nodded and thanked her and walked back to the waiting room on legs that didn't feel like mine. The texts from his family started on day 2. His mother went first. I always knew you were a whore. Now my whole family knows it too. His sister followed an hour later. You disgust me. I hope you lose that baby. His aunt sent a paragraph about how she'd warned Evan not to marry me, how she'd seen the trash in me from day 1, how I'd fooled everyone with my nice girl act, but now the mask was off. His cousin sent a photo of me from the party, mid-fall, with the caption, "Cheaters always get what they deserve." I sat on my bed reading message after message until my phone screen blurred from tears. These people had hugged me at holidays. They'd sent me birthday cards. They'd told me I was part of the family. Now they were calling me names I'd never been called in my life, and wishing harm on my unborn child. I turned off my phone because I couldn't take anymore. Carrie came over that afternoon and found me still in bed. She climbed in next to me like we were kids again and held me while I cried. "You need to leave him," she said softly. "He hit you, Marina. In front of witnesses. You could press charges. You could take him for everything." My mother called that night saying the same thing. So did my father. So did everyone in my family who reached out. Leave him, sue him, make him pay. But I couldn't. Not yet. Because the test would prove I was innocent and then everything would go back to normal. It had to. I lay awake that night with my hand on my stomach, trying to feel something. Some connection to the life growing inside me. But all I felt was doubt. What if Evan was right? What if the vasectomy made it impossible? What if somehow, some way, something had happened that I couldn't remember? The thought made me sick, but I couldn't stop it from creeping in. I went through every night of the past 3 months in my head. Every time Evan and I had been together. Every moment I'd been alone. Nothing made sense. I knew I hadn't cheated. I knew it in my bones. But if Evan really couldn't have children, then whose baby was this? On day 4, Jeff knocked on my door holding a bag of takeout. "Figured you weren't eating," he said. His voice was gentle and his eyes were soft with concern. I hadn't showered in 2 days. I was wearing the same sweatpants I'd slept in, and my hair was tangled into a mess on top of my head. I looked like a mess. But Jeff didn't seem to notice or care. He just stood there on my porch waiting patiently for me to let him in. And I did. We sat at the kitchen table and Jeff unpacked containers of lo mein and fried rice and orange chicken. He didn't ask me what happened. He didn't ask me to explain myself or defend myself or prove anything. He just handed me a fork and said, "Eat something, please." So I did. Small bites at first because I had zero appetite. But the food was warm and the company was warmer, and slowly I started to feel almost human again. Jeff talked about stupid things. A movie he'd seen last week. A coworker who kept microwaving fish in the office and stinking up the whole place. His neighbor's dog that barked at 3 in the morning every single night. He filled the silence with easy conversation that didn't require anything from me except to listen. And when I finally started crying, which I knew I would, he didn't panic or pull away. He just moved his chair closer and put his arm around my shoulders and let me fall apart. "I didn't do anything wrong," I said between sobs. "I know you probably think I did, but I swear, Jeff, I have never been with anyone except your brother. I don't know how this happened. I don't understand any of this." He rubbed slow circles on my back and shook his head. "I believe you," he said quietly. "I don't know what's going on, but I know you're not that kind of person. Anyone who spent 5 minutes with you knows that." I cried harder because after 4 days of being treated like a criminal, someone finally saw me. Someone finally believed me without demanding proof. Jeff stayed for 2 more hours. He washed the dishes even though I told him not to. He made sure I had his number saved in my phone in case I needed anything. And when he left, he hugged me at the door and told me to call him anytime, day or night, if everything got too heavy. I watched him drive away and felt something I hadn't felt in days. Hope. Someone was actually on my side and not trying to tell me what to do or berating me left and right. I survived the week from hell. Evan's family calling me every name. Carrie begging me to leave him. Evan looking through me like I was already gone. The only person who didn't treat me like a criminal was Jeff. He checked on me every day, brought me food when I couldn't eat, told me Evan was wrong for what he did. But I held on because the test results were finally here. This was my proof, my vindication. Except when I opened that envelope, I didn't find salvation. I found something that made everything 1,000 times worse. 3 more days passed before the envelope arrived. Jeff checked on me a few times and brought food when he could, But mostly I was alone in a house where my husband lived 20 feet away and acted like I didn't exist. Evan had been locked in the guest room since the night of the party. He'd leave for work before I woke up. He'd come home after I'd already gone to bed. The only sign he was still living there was the coffee mug in the sink every morning, and the sound of the guest room door clicking shut every night. We existed in the same house like ghosts who couldn't see each other. Sometimes I'd stand outside the guest room door with my hand raised, ready to knock, ready to try one more time, but I never did. What was the point? He'd made up his mind about me. The only thing that would change it was proof. And proof was coming. When the mail truck finally pulled up on day 7, I was standing at the window like I'd been doing every afternoon. My heart jumped into my throat the second I saw the white envelope in the mailman's hand, clinic logo in the corner, my name printed on the front, my entire future folded up inside a single piece of paper. I ran outside in my bare feet, not caring that the concrete was cold, not caring that I was still in my pajamas. I grabbed the envelope from his hands before he could put it in the box. He gave me a strange look, but I didn't care. I didn't care about anything except what was inside. I held it against my chest and felt my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This was it. This was finally it. 7 days of hell were about to end. I was about to be vindicated. I called Jeff first. I don't know why. Maybe because he was the only person who'd believed me. Maybe because I needed someone in my corner when I finally proved the world wrong. He answered on the second ring. The results came, I said, and I could hear the hope in my own voice. They're here, Jeff. I'm holding them right now. He told me he'd be there in 10 minutes and to wait for him before I opened anything. I agreed because I wanted witnesses. I wanted everyone to see the moment I was proven innocent. Then I went to the guest room door and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Evan, I called through the door. The results are here. Come out. I want you to see this with your own eyes. I pressed my ear against the wood and heard movement inside. Footsteps. The creak of the bed. Then silence. I knocked a third time. I'm not going away. This affects both of us and you're going to be here when I open it. More silence. Then finally the lock clicked. The door swung open and Evan stood there looking at me with empty eyes. He'd lost weight in the past week. His face was pale and there were dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't been sleeping either. For half a second I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the slap. I remembered the names he'd called me. I remembered the way he'd turned the whole room against me. The sympathy disappeared. He didn't say a word. He just walked past me toward the kitchen and sat down at the table with his arms crossed, waiting. I followed him and placed the envelope in the center of the table between us. Neither of us touched it. We just stared at it like it might explode. Jeff arrived 5 minutes later. I heard his car pull into the driveway and went to let him in. He looked nervous, which surprised me. His eyes kept darting to the envelope on the table and then back to my face. You okay? He asked quietly. I nodded because I was more than okay. I was ready. I was finally going to prove that I hadn't done anything wrong. He followed me into the kitchen and froze when he saw Evan sitting there. The two brothers looked at each other for a long moment. Something passed between them that I couldn't read. Then Jeff pulled out a chair and sat down, positioning himself closer to me than to Evan. You haven't opened it yet, Jeff said, stating the obvious. I shook my head. I wanted witnesses. I wanted both of you to watch me open it so no one can say I tampered with anything. So no one can claim I switched the results or forged something or whatever other accusation might come next. I looked directly at Evan when I said that last part. He didn't react. Just sat there with his arms crossed and his jaw tight, staring at the envelope like he was trying to set it on fire with his eyes. Jeff reached across the table and put his hand over mine. His palm was warm against my cold fingers. Whatever happens, he said softly, I'm here, okay? No matter what that paper says, I'm not going anywhere. I squeezed his hand and thanked him for being the only person who'd stood by me through this nightmare, for the only person who'd believed me when everyone else had already decided I was guilty. Evan's eyes locked onto our hands and something dark flickered across his face. His jaw tightened even more. His nostrils flared. Seriously? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just ice. I'm sitting right here and you're holding hands with my brother? Should I even bother reading those results or do I already have my answer? I pulled my hand away from Jeff's and stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. The sound was loud in the quiet kitchen. Don't you dare, I said, and my voice came out stronger than I expected. Don't you dare twist this into something it's not. Your brother is the only person who's been kind to me while you've been treating me like garbage. He's been bringing me food because I can't eat. He's been checking on me because you won't even look at me. So don't you stand there and act like I'm doing something wrong by accepting basic human kindness from the only person who's offered it. Evan rolled his eyes. Just open the envelope, Marina. I don't have all day to listen to your excuses. I took a deep breath and picked up the envelope. It felt heavier than it should, like the weight of my entire marriage was pressed into that single piece of paper. I looked at Evan and felt something surge in my chest. Confidence. Certainty. I knew I hadn't cheated. I knew I hadn't been with anyone else. Whatever was in this envelope was going to prove it. And then he was going to have to look me in the eyes and apologize for everything he'd put me through. I held onto that image as I slid my finger under the seal. The sound of the paper tearing was impossibly loud. I pulled out the single sheet inside and unfolded it slowly, savoring the moment. This was it. This was my vindication. My eyes scanned the words at the top. Medical terminology. Reference numbers. My name. Evan's name. And then the results. I read them once. My brain didn't process what I was seeing. I read them again. The words were the same, but they still didn't make sense. I read them a third time and the paper started shaking in my hands. No. No, 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 no. This wasn't right. This couldn't be right. There had to be a mistake. A typo. A mix-up at the lab. Something. Anything. Because what I was reading was impossible. What does it say? Evan demanded. His voice cut through the fog in my brain. Read it out loud. I want to hear you say it. I opened my mouth but nothing came out. My throat had closed up. My lungs had stopped working. The room was tilting sideways and I had to grab the edge of the table to keep from falling over. Marina, Jeff said, and his voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. Far away. Muffled. What does it say? I looked up at my husband. At the man I'd loved for 6 years. At the man I'd built a life with. At the man who was waiting for me to confirm everything he already believed about me. Tears were streaming down my face and I couldn't stop them. It says you're not the father. The words hung in the air between us. Heavy. Final. Devastating. Evan's expression didn't change. Not even a flicker of surprise. He just sat there with his arms crossed like he'd been expecting this all along. Like he'd known from the beginning that I was exactly what he accused me of being. And there it is, he said slowly. His voice was calm now. Almost peaceful. Like a storm that had finally passed. The proof. You've been cheating on me this whole time and now you can't hide it anymore. He stood up slowly and put both hands on the table, leaning toward me until I could see every line of anger on his face. So who is it? Huh? Who's the lucky guy? Someone from work? Some random guy you met at a bar? An ex-boyfriend you never really got over? He was getting louder with each question. Tell me, Marina. I deserve to know whose baby you're carrying in my house. Whose baby you tried to trick me into raising as my own. I don't know. I sobbed. The words came out broken and desperate. I don't understand. I haven't been with anyone else, Evan. I swear on my life I haven't been with anyone else. There has to be a mistake. The lab made an error. We need to take another test. We need to... He slammed his fist on the table so hard the envelope jumped and my whole body flinched. The test isn't wrong. He was screaming now. Full volume. Veins bulging in his neck just like the night of the party. Science doesn't lie, Marina. DNA doesn't lie. The only liar in this room is you. He pointed his finger in my face and I could see his hand shaking with rage. You've been lying to me for months, maybe years, and now you're standing there crying like you're the victim? Like I'm the bad guy for being angry that my wife got pregnant by another man? I didn't do this, I screamed back at him. Something inside me broke. All the fear and confusion and desperation came pouring out as rage. I don't know how this happened, but I didn't do this. I have never been with anyone except you. Not once in 6 years. I don't understand what's happening, but I know I didn't cheat. You have to believe me, Evan. Please. I grabbed his arm, desperate for him to see me. Really see me. To look past his anger and recognize the woman he'd married. The woman who loved him. The woman who would never betray him. Please believe me. Please. I'm begging you. He shoved me away so hard I stumbled backward. My hip hit the counter and pain shot through my side. Jeff jumped up and caught me before I could fall further, his arms wrapping around me to steady me. Don't touch me, Evan snarled, and his face was twisted into something I didn't recognize. Pure hatred. Pure disgust. Don't ever touch me again. You make me sick. Looking at you right now makes me physically sick. I can't even stand to be in the same room as you. He turned to Jeff, who was still holding on to me, and his eyes narrowed. And you, my own brother, sitting here holding her hand, comforting her, being her shoulder to cry on while my marriage falls apart. He took a step toward Jeff and for a second I thought he was going to swing. Did you know about this? Did you know she was sleeping around behind my back? Have you two been laughing at me this whole time? Jeff's face went pale. His arms tightened around me almost protectively. I didn't know anything, he said quietly. His voice was steady, but I could feel his heart pounding against my back. I swear to you, Evan. I just came to support her when the results came in. That's all. I had no idea. Evan stared at his brother for a long moment, searching his face for something. Then he laughed. That horrible cold laugh that made my blood run cold. Support her. Right. Well, congratulations. She's all yours now. You can have her. I'm done. He turned and stormed toward the guest room. I heard drawers being yanked open, clothes being thrown, hangers clattering to the floor. Jeff let go of me and I stood there in the middle of the kitchen, frozen, tears streaming down my face, my whole body shaking so hard I thought my bones might rattle loose. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. I'd been so sure, so completely certain that the test would save me, that science would prove what I already knew, prove I was innocent and faithful. Instead, the test had destroyed everything, and it hadn't even given me answers. It just told me Evan wasn't the father. It didn't tell me who was. It didn't explain how any of this was possible. It just left me standing in my kitchen with my whole life in pieces, and no idea how to put them back together. Evan came back 10 minutes later dragging 2 suitcases behind him. He didn't look at me as he walked toward the front door. His face was set in stone. His eyes were fixed straight ahead, like I was already invisible to him. Evan, wait, I begged, running after him. I grabbed the back of his shirt and he spun around so fast I stumbled backward. Don't touch me, he said through clenched teeth. What part of that don't you understand? I held up my hands in surrender, tears blurring my vision. Please, we can figure this out. We can take another test. Something is wrong. Something doesn't make sense. I know I didn't cheat, Evan. I know it. There has to be an explanation. He stared at me for a long moment, and for just a second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt, maybe. Or sadness. or the ghost of the man he used to be. Then it was gone, replaced by that cold, hard mask. The only thing that doesn't make sense is how I didn't see what you really were sooner. My mother was right about you. My whole family was right about you. I should have listened to them from the beginning. He picked up his suitcases and opened the front door. I'm staying with Felix until I figure out what to do about the house. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't try to contact me at all. As far as I'm concerned, you don't exist anymore. The door slammed behind him so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. Then his car started. Then he was gone. And I was alone. I collapsed onto the kitchen floor and cried so hard I thought I might shatter into 1,000 pieces. Jeff knelt down beside me and tried to put his arm around me, but I pushed him away. I didn't want comfort. I didn't want kindness. I wanted answers. Because I knew I hadn't cheated. I knew I hadn't been with anyone else. I had never let another man touch me in 6 years of marriage. So how was this possible? How was I carrying a baby that wasn't my husband's? I stared at those results knowing how guilty this looked. Evan was gone. He wouldn't even let me explain. He had already decided I was a cheater and a liar. But I still had no idea how this happened. I didn't know that Carrie was about to ask me a question that would change everything. A question I should have asked myself weeks ago. I called Carrie before the sun came up. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting by the phone all night. The results came back, I said. My voice was raw from crying. Evan's not the father. She was at my door within the hour. I let her in and handed her the paper without saying anything. She read it twice, her face getting paler each time. Then she set it down on the kitchen table and looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. Sit down, she said. We need to talk through this. I sat across from her at the table. The same table where Evan had slammed his fist. The same spot where Jeff had held my hand. The exact place where my entire life had fallen apart less than 12 hours ago. Carrie pushed the results aside and folded her hands in front of her. I need you to walk me through everything. Not the party. Before that. When do you think you conceived? I stared at her. What does that matter? The test says Evan isn't the father. That's the only thing that matters. Just answer the question, Marina. When do you think it happened? I tried to focus. My brain felt like it was full of static. I don't know exactly. Evan and I were together a lot during that window. We had a whole system. Ovulation tracking, temperature charts, scheduled nights. It could have been any of those times. Carrie shook her head. You're about 11 weeks along. That means conception happened roughly 9 weeks ago. Maybe 10. She leaned forward. Think harder. Is there any night during that time that stands out? Anything that felt different or strange? I closed my eyes and tried to go back. All those nights of trying so hard blurred together. The same routine, the same hope, the same disappointment month after month until the one test that finally came back positive. But then something floated up from the back of my mind. A night I hadn't thought about since it happened. A night that was different from all the others. There was one night, I said slowly. My eyes were still closed, reaching for details I'd never bothered to examine before. About 9 or 10 weeks ago, I woke up because Evan was shaking me, gently. Then I felt him kissing my neck. I paused, remembering. I asked if he was in the mood and he just hummed, like a yes. And I remember wanting a baby so badly I went along with it. Carrie's voice was steady. What else do you remember? I tried to pull more from the fog. It was completely dark. We have blackout curtains because Evan's a light sleeper. I couldn't see anything, not even an outline. I paused. Something was shifting in my chest. Something uncomfortable. He never actually said anything. Not one word the whole time. Usually Evan would whisper to me, tell me he loved me, ask if I was okay. But that night it was just the hum. And when it was over he just rolled away and went to sleep. Or I thought he did. I was so tired I passed out again right after. Carrie was quiet for a long moment. I opened my eyes and found her staring at me with an expression that made me dizzy. When she spoke again her voice was careful, gentle, like she was trying not to break something fragile. Marina, I need you to really think about what I'm about to ask you. I felt my whole body tense. Okay. She reached across the table and took my hands. Her fingers were cold. That night. The darkness. The silence. The way he didn't speak. Just hummed. She squeezed my hands. Are you absolutely certain it was Evan? I yanked my hands back like she'd burned me. What kind of question is that? Of course it was Evan. I was in my own bed. In my own house. Who else would it have been? But even as the words came out, something cold started crawling up my spine. Carrie didn't look away. You said it was pitch black. You said he never spoke. Not one word. Just a hum that could have come from anyone. She paused. How do you know it was him? Because it had to be him, I said. But my voice was shaking. He was there when I woke up in the morning. Nobody else could have gotten into our house. What you're suggesting is insane, Carrie. Completely insane. Carrie's face was pale, but her voice stayed steady. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm asking you to consider something. A possibility that would explain why you're pregnant with a baby that isn't Evan's even though you swear you never cheated. I stood up so fast my chair crashed backward onto the floor. I needed to move. I needed to get away from this conversation. I needed my sister to stop saying things that were making the walls close in around me. No, I said. I was backing away from the table. That's not possible. I would have known. I would have felt that something was wrong. I would have, but would I have? The room was completely dark. Not a single word was spoken. Just that one low hum. His hands didn't touch me the way Evans usually did. Rougher. More urgent. Less careful with me. I had told myself it was because he was half asleep. Exhaustion made people different. Sometimes intimacy didn't have to be gentle to still be love. What if it wasn't love at all? What if it wasn't Evan? Oh God, I whispered. My back hit the kitchen counter and I grabbed it to keep myself upright. Carrie. Oh my God. She was out of her chair instantly, crossing the room to catch me as my legs gave out. Her arms wrapped around me and held me up while my whole body started to shake. Breathe, she said into my hair. Just breathe. We don't know anything for sure yet. This is just a possibility. We need to think about this clearly. But I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't think at all. If Carrie was right, then an intruder had come into my home while I was sleeping. A stranger had climbed into my bed in the dark. My body had been used while I thought it was my husband. And I had gone along with it eagerly, wanting a baby so badly that I never questioned the silence. Never wondered why the darkness felt different. Never stopped to make sure the man touching me was actually my husband. Who? I choked out. The word barely made it past my throat. Who would do something like that? Who has access to our house in the middle of the night? Carrie went very still. Her arms tightened around me. And then she said something that made my blood turn to ice. Who has a key to your house, Marina? The answer hit me like a truck. The only person who had one was Jeff. Jeff had a key. Evan gave him one 2 years ago when we went on vacation and needed someone to water the plants. We never asked for it back. My mind started racing through everything from the past week. His kindness when everyone else turned on me. His certainty that I hadn't cheated. Showing up at my door without being called. Sitting too close on the couch. Touching my knee. Telling me maybe my marriage falling apart was for the best. Being there when I opened the results. Holding my hand while I read the words that destroyed my life. No, I said. But even as I said it, pieces were clicking into place. Horrible pieces. Pieces I didn't want to see. Not Jeff. He wouldn't. He's Evan's brother. He's been helping me. He's been... I trailed off. Helpful. Attentive. Always there. Never surprised by anything that happened. Like he already knew how it would end. Carrie pulled back and looked me in the eyes. We need to find out for sure. Another test. One that compares your baby's DNA to Jeff's. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely stand. And if it's him? If the test comes back positive? What do I do then, Carrie? What do I do if Evan's own brother did this to me? It wasn't Evan that night. The realization hit me so hard I couldn't breathe. Someone came into my bedroom in the dark, got into my bed, and I never knew. I thought I was trying to make a baby with my husband. I was being used by Jeff. Every visit, every kind word, every time he told me Evan didn't deserve me. He knew. He knew the whole time. Now I had to make Evan believe me. He wouldn't answer his phone. He thought I was still the villain, but I knew where he was staying, and I wasn't going to let him hide from the truth anymore. Carrie didn't have an answer. Neither did I. But I knew one thing for certain. Evan needed to hear this. He needed to know what his brother might have done. I grabbed my phone and called him. Straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. 5 more times I tried. Each call going nowhere. Each ring making me more desperate. He'd blocked me. Or he was ignoring me. Either way, I wasn't getting through. He's staying with Felix, I told Carrie. I know where that is. I'm going over there. She tried to stop me. Told me I should wait until I had proof. Told me showing up hysterical with accusations against his brother would only make things worse. But I couldn't wait. Every second that passed was another second Evan believed I had betrayed him. Another second Jeff got away with what he did. I grabbed my keys and ran to my car before Carrie could say anything else. The drive to Felix's apartment took 12 minutes. I spent every one of them rehearsing what I would say. How I would make Evan listen. How I would convince him that his own brother had done something unthinkable. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn off the ignition. Felix's apartment was on the 3rd floor. I took the stairs 2 at a time and pounded on the door so hard my knuckles ached. No answer. I pounded again. Evan, I yelled through the wood. I know you're in there. Open the door, please. I figured it out. I know what happened. Silence. Then footsteps. Then the door swung open and Evan stood there looking at me like I was a ghost he'd been trying to outrun. His eyes were red. His clothes were wrinkled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Go away, Marina. His voice was flat. Dead. I don't want to hear any more lies. I pushed past him into the apartment before he could stop me. Felix was sitting on the couch looking uncomfortable. I ignored him completely. It wasn't me, I said, turning to face Evan. I didn't cheat on you. I never cheated on you. But someone did get me pregnant. Someone who had access to our house. Someone who came into our bedroom in the middle of the night while it was pitch black and I couldn't see anything. Evan's jaw tightened. What are you talking about? I told him everything. The night I woke up to someone shaking me. The kiss on my neck. The hum instead of words. The complete darkness. The way nothing felt quite right, but I was so desperate for a baby that I didn't question it. The way whoever it was never spoke. Not once. Just that single hum when I asked if he was in the mood. Evan's face changed as I talked. The anger was still there, but it was moving away from me and towards something else. Someone else. Who has a key to our house? I asked him. Besides us. Who else can get in? I watched the realization hit him. Watched his eyes widen. Watched his hands curl into fists at his sides. Jeff, he whispered. The name came out like poison. I gave Jeff a key 2 years ago. I nodded. Tears were streaming down my face, but I didn't wipe them away. He's been so helpful this whole week, Evan. Showing up without being asked. Bringing me food. Telling me you didn't deserve me. Holding my hand when I opened those results. My voice cracked. He knew. He knew the whole time because he's the one who did it. Evan didn't say anything for a long moment. His chest was heaving. His face had gone from pale to red. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely controlled. Get in the car. We drove to Jeff's apartment in complete silence. Evan's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping under his skin. I didn't know what he was going to do when we got there. Part of me was scared to find out. Jeff's building was a nice complex on the east side of town. We pulled into the parking lot and Evan was out of the car before I even had my seatbelt off. I ran after him as he stormed toward the entrance. He didn't buzz. He didn't call. He just waited until someone came out and caught the door before it closed. We took the elevator to the 4th floor. Evan pounded on the door with his fist. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the lock clicked. The door swung open. And there was Jeff. He wasn't surprised to see us. That was the first thing I noticed. No shock on his face. No confusion. No panic. He just stood there in the doorway looking calm. Almost peaceful. Like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. Hey, he said. His voice was steady. Casual. Like we'd just stopped by for a visit. Evan grabbed him by the shirt and shoved him backward into the apartment. Tell me the truth, he growled. Tell me what you did to my wife. Jeff didn't fight back. Didn't try to defend himself. He just let Evan push him until his back hit the wall. Then he looked past his brother. Directly at me. His eyes found mine and something in them made my skin crawl. Intensity. Hunger. Possession. Like he was looking at something that belonged to him. Marina, he said softly. My name in his mouth made me want to vomit. I've been waiting so long to finally tell you everything. Jeff stood in that doorway looking at us like he'd been expecting this moment his whole life. No panic. No guilt. Just this calm expression that made my skin crawl. Evan demanded answers. I held my breath waiting for denials, excuses, anything that would let me pretend this was some horrible mistake. But he didn't deny it. He smiled. And what came out of his mouth next proved that this wasn't a moment of weakness or a drunken accident. This was planned. This was obsession. This was everything. The corners of Jeff's mouth curled upward in a way that made him look like a completely different person. Not the kind brother who brought me takeout. Not the gentle voice that told me everything would be okay. This smile was slow and deliberate and wrong. The kind of smile someone wears when they've been keeping a secret for years and finally get to say it out loud. You might want to let go of me, Evan, Jeff said. His voice was steady and conversational as if Evan wasn't pinning him against the wall with murder in his eyes. This is going to be a long conversation, and you'll want to sit down for it. Evan's hands twisted tighter into Jeff's shirt. The fabric bunched and strained under his grip. A vein was pulsing visibly in his neck and his breathing had gone ragged and heavy. Start talking. Right now. Tell me what you did. Jeff didn't struggle. Didn't try to push Evan off. He just stood there against the wall looking more relaxed than anyone in his position should be. Then his eyes slid past Evan and landed on me. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. Something about his gaze pinned me in place. He stared at me the way a lion stares down a gazelle. It became clear I was his prey from the moment we met, and he was determined to make me his. Fine, Jeff said softly. His eyes never left mine, even though he was answering Evan. You want to know what I did? I'll tell you everything. But first, you should know that I'm not sorry. Not even a little bit. What I did was the best decision I ever made. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it. Every breath took effort. I pressed my back harder against the wall because my legs weren't trustworthy anymore. They felt hollow, disconnected from the rest of me. Evan slammed Jeff against the wall hard enough to make a picture frame rattle. Talk. Jeff let out a small laugh. Having your spare key gave me so much power. Power I've been wanting for a long time. I loved that I had access to your house, your life. He tilted his head slightly. Your wife. The word wife came out of his mouth like he was tasting something sweet. I felt my dinner rising in my throat. Evan's whole body had gone rigid. The muscles in his arms were straining against his shirt. His jaw was clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grinding. That night,
if your ex wants to come back into your life, pause and ask yourself,
you are going to leave your whole
is a woman
family
who genuinely respects, values, and stands by you, who is willing to grow with you, support you, and build a life with you. That, my friends, is what truly means something.
If your phone doesn't
If you
ring,
agree with me, type 100 in the comments.
This pain you are causing me.
Fighting this battle alone. I'm tired of being afraid of myself.
Who stands beside
There is someone lying to you,
You are
and this
so
lie has been
precious.
going on for months.
One day I want to
The
marry
worst
you,
part is
to
that
always
this person
cherish
has no
and
intention
honor
of
our
telling you the
bond.
truth anytime
You're the
soon.
one I want
Practice understanding
But do you
and
want to
commit
know the most
healing after
curious
the
part?
storms. That's what
with sense.
Click on the red cross
Respect
below my
people's
photo
journey.
so you can
Drop
find out who it
100 if
is.
you agree.
But this
And
isn't
now
a
do the following.
coincidence. If
Click
this
on the
video
heart,
found you,
then
it's
on
a
the
message.
share
no
arrow,
secrets with
and
others
look at who
or
is the
spread
fifth
gossip
person
about
on
you.
your WhatsApp list.
She's suffering. She's missing
There is
me.
someone lying
She's
to
waiting for
you.
me to come back.
And this
But
lie
here's
has
the
been
hard-
going
Today's
on for
love
months.
protection level is
The worst
77.
part is that
Type
this person has
77.
no
They are
intention
the
of telling
ninth
you the
contract
truth
when you
anytime
find the green
soon.
button.
But do
They
you
are-
want to know the
Receive
most
these blessings.
curious part?
Your hand will
Click
touch
on the red
a lot
cross
of
below my
Beside,
photo so
because
you can find out
today,
who it is.
Jesus will
And
answer
now
your
do the
prayer.
following.
The more you treat
Click
a
on the
woman better
heart,
than yourself,
then on the share
the more she
arrow,
thinks you don't
and
deserve
look at
it.
who
Wants
is
to
the fifth
steal your
person on your
smile.
WhatsApp
Trust
list.
in the power of this
There is
Revolut
someone
section
lying to you,
to protect
and
yourself
this lie has been
and
going on
gain
for months.
life-changing
And the worst part is that this person has no intention of telling you the truth anytime soon. But do you want to know the most curious part?
You'll make Jesus happy.
Click on the red
and
cross
before
below
this
my
week is
photo
out,
so you can find out who it is.
and who
And
this
now
person
do the
is.
following.
So
Click on the
connect with
heart,
Initial,
then on
share
the
this
share
video.
arrow,
After
and look
sharing,
at who is the fifth
the first
person
letter
on
Because
your
you finally
WhatsApp
remembered
list.
your value. Now what
There is
should you
someone
do?
lying to you,
Careful,
and
if
this
you
lie has
ignore
been
this
going on for
video,
months.
bad
The
news
worst
will
part is that this person has no intention of telling you the truth anytime soon.
Her how to live without you,
But
my
do you
brother.
want to know the most
Men
curious
often think,
part?
oh,
Love.
Click on the red
It's
cross
about
below my
something
photo
bigger.
so you can find out who
Money.
it is. And now do
If
the
they
following.
wanted to be
Click
with
on
you,
the heart,
they would be.
then on the
either
share
change
arrow,
or leave.
and look at who is the fifth person
Drop a
on your
100 if you
WhatsApp
agree
list.
it
There
was
is
never
someone
my
lying
intention to
you,
cause you pain
and this
or
lie has been
regret.
going on for months.
To be.
The
So
worst
maybe
part
it's
is that
time we
this
stop
person has no
measuring.
intention of telling you the truth
13.
anytime soon.
Don't stay in a relationship where you
But do
don't
you
feel.
want to know the most curious part?
It's a choice, not a mistake.
Click on the red cross below my
The more
photo
you treat
so
a
you
woman
can
better
find
than
out
yourself,
who it is.
the more she
And now
thinks you
do
don't
the
deserve
following.
it.
Voice at
Click
the
on
end of the
heart,
day saying,
then on the
I will
share
try
arrow,
again
and
tomorrow.
look at who is the
I
fifth
found the
person
button
on your
below
WhatsApp
my
list.
photo and the
The
heart for the
richest man
universe.
in
Accept,
China,
I'm going to
Jack
reveal
Ma,
this
said,
message to you.
"If
But
you
first,
put the
I ask...
bananas and
And he
money
won't
in
settle
front
for
of the
anything
monkeys. The monkeys
So
will
if you meet
choose
a man,
bananas
my growth,
because the
my
monkeys
journey,
don't know
that's
that
my
money
legacy.
can buy a lot of bananas.
She is.
In fact,
If she
if
truly
you
valued
offer
you,
work and business to people,
Please,
they will choose
don't
to
shut
work.
me out.
Because
Let-
most people
Number
don't
4.
know that a business
Your manners
can make more
treats
money
people with
than a
respect.
how great
salary.
it feels to be with you.
One
It's
of the
not your
reasons the
responsibility
poor
to
are
remind-
poor
And the love you share
is
with
because
those
the
lucky
poor
enough
are
to know
not
you.
trained to recognize
Every moment.
the entrepreneurial opportunity.
The second,
They spend a
God
lot
is
of
open.
time in school.
The more you love her,
and what they learn
the
in
easier
school
it is for her to treat
to
you
work
like
for a
and becoming
salary
a better version
instead
of yourself.
working for themselves.
Any woman you are busy chasing
Comes
back
Profit
later
is
saying
better
she
than
misses what you
wages
had.
Because wages
Just
can
remember,
support you.
Have time for
But
you.
profits
She'll
can
begin to
make
pick
you a
unnecessary
fortune.
fights or
If
arguments
you don't
using
learn to
half-assed
recognize
on again, off
opportunities,
again bullshit.
you will
You're
continue
like a
to
fucking
choose the safe path rather than the profitable
Toyota,
one.
Tundra.
Don't forget
Realize
to
they
follow
lost
us.
something real,
There's a jealous
whether they want to admit it.
Remember, to receive this message, it's essential to type the number.
It's only a matter of time before she does it again.
tell you the first letter of her
And she-
name and protect you from her in this video. This person pretends to like
You played with
but is
my
filled
heart
with
like it was a
jealousy
game.
and
You
wants to
lied.
see you struggle.
And I'll share
She's
the initial
jealous
of her
because
first
you're
name.
kind and
If
giving
you've
and
reached
have
this out of her
qualities she
mind,
lacks.
frequently checks your
She
social
wants to
media
see you fail
profiles.
because your bright
She's quite
spirit
cute.
bothers her.
I
To
believe
cut
this
off her
woman will
jealousy,
eventually reach
you
out
must
after
click
some
on the
time.
plus
Your loyalty,
icon to follow
your
her
love.
and comment.
It's not about
I claim
money.
it, to let the universe's power free you from her negative influence.
By me.
Now,
I stand by
first
you.
letter of
But
her name.
if you decide to walk
Click
away,
on the plus
He checks
icon
your
to
social
follow me
media,
because
replays
it's
your
important
voice
to
in his head.
connect
He misses
with
your
the
voice.
universe's
Is prison.
energy.
Be humble.
When you share this
3.
video, notice the
While
fifth
I was
person's
shuffling
name
here, a
starts
card
with the
fell
same
out showing
letter
a
as the
forbidden
woman
love.
who's
Struggles,
betraying
look
you.
in the mirror first.
If you trust in
Are
the
you
universe's
perfect?
power,
Have
show it
judge
with a
me
comment.
when you are perfect.
If a man
Otherwise,
is done with
shut
you,
up.
you will
think
see these
fulfilled
3
and confident
signs
in who
clearly.
you are,
Listen
you'll attract a
carefully.
partner
Made a
1.
mistake?
He stops
If
communicating
not,
with
then
you.
shut up.
He doesn't
People
call.
love to
He
stand
doesn't
tall
text.
because of
He
you.
no longer checks
This
in.
success,
The
this
conversations
Start
you
over with
used to
someone
have
new.
become distant,
If we encounter any
dry,
challenges or
completely
difficulties
gone.
in my life,
He used to ask how your day went. Now it feels like
Necessary
silence
fights or
has taken
arguments
his
with
place.
you or set you up for
When
something
someone
she
truly
knows you'll
loves
fall-
you, communication doesn't fade, especially even if they don't reciprocate. Number 2,
People and positive
he's suddenly
people.
too busy for you.
Because a good
He
laugh.
always has
I
excuses.
knew it was what you needed,
work,
what you asked for.
stress,
My
plans
heart
that
ached.
don't involve you. He stops making time for you. The dates,
I knew
the little
it was what
moments,
you needed,
the
what you
plans
asked
for the
for.
future, all
My heart
disappear.
ached.
Best friend. You're no longer part of his priorities, and that hurts. No matter the circumstances, I don't give a flying fuck grows what you think about me. Cold. Love me, hate me, talk
important
fades. No
conversation.
hugs, no kisses, no
In
soft
the last
touches.
24 hours,
He doesn't say I love you anymore, and when he does, it feels forced. His
your
words don't
second
match his actions. If you're seeing these signs, don't ignore them. You deserve honesty, not confusion. You deserve love,
and
not
nurturing your
distance.
well-being.
Drop a 100
When
if
you're
this
genuine-
spoke to your heart.
I will
And
tell
share
you
it
who
with
this
someone
person
who
is,
needs the truth.
and I want to protect you.
When a woman is no longer interested in you, you'll begin to see a change in her character and attitude towards you. She'll begin to disrespect you. She'll begin to take a longer time to respond to your text. She'll begin to give you unreasonable excuses why she's always busy and doesn't have time and have a true love in your life. You can just understand arguments with you or set you up for something she knows you'll fall for in order to have a perfect ground to break up with you. When this happens, you should know she has either cheated on you, and her change of attitude is her trying to justify her act, or feel better of herself, or she has seen someone she feels is better than you. Either way, you must have some self-respect and let her go. She ain't worth it, because if you don't let her go, she will do it in a very disgusting and hurting way possible. Yes, that's what happens when you give a woman too much power. She will misuse it. And if you don't want any of this happening and have a true love in your life, you can just understand female psychology and learn game with my female psychology series linked below now.
A woman who wants you for your money and brings you
lifting that weight off your shoulders tonight as you sleep a prophetic
plus sign on my photo to bring good
games, but to protect your peace. No angry texts.
She doesn't
I don't waste
belong in
time
your
hating
life.
anyone.
Walk away from her.
I'm too busy building myself.
You are probably looking for
Either
an
I
escape.
care about you or you
Send
mean
us a
nothing to
message.
me.
But to protect
I'm
your
friendly
peace.
with everyone.
No
But
angry
not
texts.
everyone's my friend.
That's how the blessing begins.
I'll talk.
She's watching
I'll laugh,
right now. Good luck.
But that doesn't make us close.
Who this person is.
I don't do fake
what they
love or
want to
forced
do to
respect.
She has
If I'm
something
around,
important to say.
it's because I want to be.
She says, take care of your
I
you.
move quiet.
Now do this.
Focus on my own.
Tap the share arrow.
No
and
time
look
for
at your
drama.
Honestly felt like
I've
we
got
just
goals
all
to
fought
hit.
this because
People
they had
mistake
such
my kindness for weakness, but
Thank
they
you
learn
for
quick when they
breaking that
cross the line.
negative energy.
A woman is talking
I've been
to someone
through
else.
enough to know
She
where to
won't always
place my
confess,
energy.
but her actions will.
I've learned
Because
not
your
everyone
success
deserves access
makes
to
her
me.
uncomfortable.
I protect my
to
peace,
Reveal
stay
who
in my
this
lane,
person is
and keep building.
and what they want to do to
You won't catch me
Embrace the
chasing
opportunity,
approval or trying to
and you
prove
may
my
just
worth.
find that the path.
I know who
But
I
if you
am.
don't stay, you'll be
If I
committing
show
a
up for you,
grave
it's real.
sin. And so
If I walk away,
segunda,
trust me,
dinero
it's
que
final.
no esperabas.
I've got no room for fake vibes
She'll
or
either
wasted
grow up
time.
or go.
My circle is small, and my vision is clear. Let them talk.
And either
I'll
way
keep
you
working
win.
in silence.
Drop a
and let the
100 if you
results
agree.
speak.
And pass.
Be okay.
Someone very influential
bottom
has
of
their
my
eye
heart.
on you. But it's not about
A
love.
girl will say,
It's about
but I've
something
known
bigger.
him before you.
Money.
Number 4.
And a lot of it.
She'll ask you where
Tap
you go.
the heart and the
What-
plus sign
Number 8.
on my photo right now before
She'll
the 10
support your
seconds.
goals. and
Mark,
push
this
you.
activates the energy of abundance surrounding you.
facing right now be replaced.
In
When
this
any
very
of this
moment,
happening and have a true
this
love in your
person
life,
has seen
you
you
can
grow
just
in
understand
silence.
but no one
They
says
know
what
you're
to
about
do.
to cross a line
When
that will
being
change your
good only
financial
brings-
situation. And even if they haven't said it out loud, they're considering you for
Contacto
something
que te
huge.
aparezca va a
Type
ser la
5,
persona que
8,
va a celebrar
4.
contigo.
In the
This message
comments,
reached
that's
you
the
because
number
I,
that
Jesus,
seals
am
this message of
protecting you.
alignment
Dándome el
and
orgullo.
prosperity.
Antes que
This
arriesgarme
energy
a
isn't here by
perderte,
chance.
discutimos,
It's a
sigo
reward for your
queriendo abrazarte.
consistency for keeping the faith,
No importa
even
cuánto.
when no one else did. And now, listen closely. When you share this video on WhatsApp, look at the 8th contact that appears. That person will be key in the next big financial
The
shift
worst
in your
part
life.
is that this
Type
person
I
has
receive
no
this
intention of
abundance
telling
and
you.
get ready.
Y hagas lo
Because
que
what
te
once
digo.
seemed impossible
Ves estos botones
is
al
now
lado.
coming
The
straight
worst
to you.
feeling for a man is when he
no
tries to
longer
have a
interested in
conversation
you,
with a woman.
You'll begin to
Sometimes a
see a
number says
change
more
in
than
her
we
character
realize.
and attitude
The number
towards
you just chose.
She'll begin to disrespect
If you give them a chance,
She'll begin to
they will
take a
always
longer
respect
time to
and care.
respond to
Curious
your
part.
text. She'll begin to give you
Click on the red cross
unreasonable
below my
excuses why
photos.
she's
I don't
always
care who's
busy and
doing
doesn't
better
have
than
time
me.
for you.
I'm not in
She'll begin to
competition
pick
with anyone else.
unnecessary
You are
fights
going
or
to leave
arguments
your
with
whole
you or
family
set you up
that
for
has
something she
always
knows
you.
you'll fall for
girl who
in
does
order to
these
have a
5
perfect
things.
ground to break
One,
up with
a girl
you.
who is
When
not
this
shy.
happens, you should know she has either cheated on you and her change of attitude is
A
her
big
trying to
blessing is
justify
coming to
her
your
act,
life.
or feel
The way
better
you
of
treat this
herself,
video.
or she has
Something
seen
you've been
someone she
waiting for a
feels
long
is better
time
than you.
could arrive
Either
sooner
way,
than you
you
imagined.
must
Don't
have some
force it. If they
self-respect
wanted to
and
be
let her
with
go. She ain't worth
would
it,
be.
because if you
Not
don't
just
let
as
her
a
go,
boyfriend, but
she
as a
will do it in a
husband.
very disgusting
Or
and
a girl who
hurting way
treats people
possible.
off her
Yes, that's
feet.
what happens
And
when you
when
give
you
a woman
find her,
too much power.
well,
She will
let's just-
misuse it. And if you don't want My any of this frustration happening
wasn't
and have a true
anger.
love in your life, it was hurt. You
But
can just
message him
understand
first.
female
He needs to
psychology
make the move.
and learn
And when
game
he
with my
does,
female psychology
She wants
series
the world
linked
to
below
know that's
now.
her man. A hidden relationship is...
Number 3.
If a man is
woman
done
who
with
doesn't take
you will see
instructions-
these 3 signs clearly.
But he is playing a game.
Listen carefully.
He made a
1.
decision.
He stops communicating with you for your looks. He doesn't call your soul. He doesn't text. He no longer checks in. The conversations you used to have become distant, dry, or completely gone.
He just chose you.
He used to ask how your
You were
day
my
went.
lesson.
Now it
My
feels
heartbreak.
like silence has taken his place. When someone truly loves you, communication doesn't do anything, even in tough times. For you, you threw away the girl that he's suddenly too busy for you.
So
He
if I
always
ever
has
fall short,
excuses. Work. I've been through enough. Plans that don't involve. I've cried in silence. He stops making time for you. The dates, the little moments,
in the last
the
24
plans
hours?
for the future
If so,
all
a
disappear.
clear sign
You're no
is
longer
missing.
part of his
Rule
priorities,
number one,
and that
don't
hurts.
go broke trying
3.
to look rich.
He grows every image of you is a snapshot of the joy and warmth. No because he couldn't put your bills at the moment. He doesn't say I love you anymore,
If
and
you
when
want
he
me to
does,
enter
it
your
feels
home and
forced.
remove all the evil
His words
inside,
don't
Do
match his
everything they
actions.
can to
If you're
cheer you
seeing
up,
these signs,
or
don't
simply
ignore
be
them.
there.
He wants.
You deserve honesty,
So,
not
yeah,
confusion.
keep pretending you're
You
with
deserve
him.
love,
Keep
not
it-
distance.
She doesn't care
Drop
about
a
overseas
100
holidays
if this spoke to
or
your
the
heart.
brand of the
And share it with someone who
loyalty
needs
and
respect, because she gives you
There is
hers
someone
with
lying to you.
La segunda,
And this lie has been
dinero
going
que
on for
no
months.
esperabas.
The worst part is that this person has no intention of telling you the truth anytime soon. Right, thank you to confirm. Do you want to know the most curious part?
There's many faces.
Click on the red
But the
cross
truth
below my
is,
photo so you
they
can
can
find
watch
out
you.
who
Energy
it
of
is.
abundance surrounding
And
you.
now do the following. Click
In
on
this
the
very
heart,
moment,
that it
then
will
on the
be
share
so.
arrow.
And now I will reveal to you on your
Who
WhatsApp list.
gives me 1,000
Find a girl who does these 5 things. 1, a girl who is not shy on showing others how much she loves you. 2, a girl who lives far away but has never cheated on you. 3, a girl who sees you not just as a boyfriend but as a husband. 4, a girl who treats you like a king. 5, a girl who asks for permission before doing something simply because she respects you and considers your decisions. If you've watched this far, drop a 100. It shows you're a part of the one person who actually finishes what they start. So, keep your eyes open, your heart ready, and your mind clear. Who knows? Maybe that girl you're searching for is just around the corner, waiting for someone like you to come along and sweep her off her feet. And when you find her, well, let's just say you'll know it was worth the wait. At last there is saying that the greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved. Loved for ourselves, or rather loved in spite of ourselves.
I believe that if you give
When a
him the
woman is no
opportunity,
longer interested in
and
you,
becoming a better
you'll begin
version
to
of
see a
yourself.
change in her
Any
character
woman you
and
are busy
attitude
changing-
towards
to feel
you.
this
She'll begin to
energy even
disrespect
more.
you.
Don't
She'll
miss
begin
this
to take a
opportunity.
longer
Things
time
happen.
to respond to
They see your
text.
progress,
She'll begin to
your
give
consistency.
you unreasonable excuses why
$1
she's
will
always
fall into
busy
your
and doesn't have
account
time for
incredibly.
you. She'll begin to pick unnecessary fights or arguments with you or set you up for something energy of the universe. And if you stayed until the end of the video, there's a
Careful.
when this
If you ignore
happens,
this
you should
video,
know she has either
bad
cheated on
news
you,
will ruin
and her
your
change of
ability
attitude
and
is her
embrace
trying
your
to
resilience.
justify her act,
Every
or
setback
feel
is
better
an
of
end.
herself, or she has
I
seen
see
someone she
everything,
feels is better
and I'm
than
with
you.
you.
Either
And
way,
once and
you
for
must
all,
have some
that God has
self-respect
always been
and
with
let her
you.
go.
He doesn't
She ain't
force
feeling
you
because if
to
you
embrace
don't let
it.
her go, when you prioritize your partner's in
Blessings,
hurting way possible.
positivity,
Yes,
and
that's
good
what
news.
happens when you give a
You've
woman
been
too
through
much
a lot.
power. She will misuse it. And if you don't want any of this happening and have a true love in your life,
It is
you can just
third-party
understand
tested,
female
made with
psychology
premium
and learn
ingredients.
game with my female psychology series link below now.
Your energy on getting a
When
better
a woman
life
is
for
no
yourself.
longer interested
Be
in
wise.
you, you'll begin to see a change in her character and attitude towards you. She'll begin to disrespect you. She'll begin to take a longer time to respond to your text. She'll begin to give you unreasonable excuses why she's always busy and doesn't have time for you. She'll begin to pick unnecessary fights or arguments with you or set you up for something she knows you'll fall for in order to have a perfect ground to break up with you. When this happens, you should know she has either cheated on you and her change of attitude is her trying to justify her act or feel better of herself, or she has seen someone she feels is better than you. Either way, you must have some self-respect and let her go. She ain't worth it, because if you don't let her go, she will do it in a very disgusting and hurting way possible. Yes, that's what happens when you give a woman too much power. She will misuse it. Because if you don't want any of this happening and have a true love in your life, everyone wants you can just understand female psychology and learn game with my female psychology series link below now.
Number
Before
10.
you go to sleep tonight, I want you to
They'll
hear
stick with
this,
you through the highs
because
and
it's
the
not
losses.
a coincidence that
That's the
this
difference
video
between us.
found
For me,
you.
it's not just
Something
about
powerful
replying.
is about to
Stay
happen in
single
your
and
life.
invest in
And
yourself.
it starts tonight.
God will
God
bring
is trying to speak
Don't
to you.
leave anything
Two
for later.
major things are about
Later.
to shift.
By
But don't
age 35,
scroll.
you should be
The last
smart enough to
person
know
ignored
these 6
this,
things.
and
He
they
will
missed
send an
their blessing.
unbelievable blessing
Don't make
into
the
your
same
life.
mistake.
Trust.
The Bible says, whoever rejects a blessing
I just stopped playing
invites
nice
sorrow.
while getting...
You think it's
So
impossible
right now,
because he has a big
tap
ego
the
and
heart
is stubborn.
and follow me.
What are you thinking? My son asked carefully. I want to face her, Sydney said. I want to go to that prison, look her in the eye, and tell her she lost. Tell her she has no power anymore, that I'm done being afraid. Morrison advised against it, said giving Patricia what she wanted, contact, attention, would only encourage her. Sydney didn't care. I'm not doing it for her, Sydney explained. I'm doing it for me. I need to see her, see what she's become, see that she's just a woman in a cell, nothing more, nothing less. The monster in my head is scarier than the reality. I need to face the reality. Against everyone's advice, Sydney arranged a visit, went through all the official channels, got approved, set a date for 3 weeks after Bennett was born. My son wanted to go with her. Sydney refused. This was something she needed to do alone, but she agreed to let Morrison accompany her to the prison, wait in the parking lot, be there when she came out. The night before the visit, Sydney came to our house, left Bennett with us, sat at our kitchen table looking more determined than scared. Thank you, she said, for everything, for being the parents I needed, for loving me like a daughter, for giving me a safe place to land. Always, I told her. No matter what happens tomorrow, you always have us. She nodded, looked at Bennett sleeping in my wife's arms. If something happens to me, nothing will happen, my wife interrupted. But if it does, Sydney continued, promise me you'll tell Bennett about my dad, about Bennett Walsh, about how he loved me, how he protected me, how he was everything a father should be. Don't let her only legacy be her grandmother's evil. Make sure she knows she came from love, too. We promised. Sydney left that night with her jaw set, ready to face her past, ready to end it once and for all. She called me the next morning for Morrison's car. We're pulling up to the prison. I'm going in. Be strong, I told her. Remember why you're doing this. I will, Sydney said. I love you, Dad. I love you too, sweetheart. She hung up. I sat in my kitchen, waiting, praying, hoping this would bring her the closure she needed. Update 3. Sydney walked through the prison doors at 9:30 a.m. Security checked her, patted her down, took her phone, led her through a series of locked doors, each one clanging shut behind her. The visitation room was exactly what she expected. Gray walls, scratched plastic tables, guards stationed at regular intervals. She sat down at the assigned table, waited. Patricia Walsh entered 5 minutes later, shackles on her wrists and ankles, orange jumpsuit, hair grayer than Sydney remembered, face harder, but the eyes were the same, cold and calculating. They sat across from each other. Neither spoke at first. Patricia smiled slowly. Sydney, you look well. Motherhood suits you. Sydney kept her expression neutral. How did you know about the baby? I have friends, people on the outside who keep me informed. I like to know what my daughter is up to. I'm not your daughter, Sydney said flatly. I stopped being your daughter the day you murdered my father. Patricia's smile didn't waver. Such harsh words. The jury believed that story. Doesn't make it true. There's video evidence, audio recordings, your own voice planning it. Evidence can be manipulated. Your father was always good with technology. Who knows what he edited together? Sydney leaned forward. I came here to tell you something, and then I'm never coming back. You're going to stop contacting me. Stop sending packages. Stop having your friends harass me online. Stop everything. Patricia laughed. Or what? You'll report me? I'm in prison, dear. They can't do much more to me. Or I'll go to every media outlet that covered your trial, Sydney said calmly. I'll tell them about the harassment, the letters, the packages, the threats against my infant daughter. I'll make you famous again. Patricia Walsh, the mother who killed her husband and is now stalking her own daughter and grandchild from prison. They'll run that story for weeks. Patricia's smile faltered slightly. You wouldn't. Try me, Sydney said. I've stayed quiet for 3 years, kept to myself, let you rot here in obscurity. But if you can't leave me alone, if you can't let me live in peace, then I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. I'll do interviews, write a book, whatever it takes to make your life here as miserable as possible. You're bluffing. Am I? Sydney pulled out a paper from her pocket, unfolded it. I've already been contacted by 3 publishers interested in my story, 2 documentary filmmakers, 4 podcasts. I've said no to all of them, but I have their contact information. I could have deals signed by next week. Patricia's jaw clenched. That would require you to relive everything, to talk about that day, to expose your pain publicly. I've made peace with my pain, Sydney said. I've done the therapy, the work. I'm not afraid to talk about what you did anymore. The question is, are you ready for everyone here to know? The other inmates? The guards? People in prison don't like child killers. They especially don't like people who murdered their partners. I wonder how safe you'll be once your story goes viral again. Patricia leaned back. For the first time, she looked uncertain. You've thought this through. I've had 3 years to think. 3 years of you trying to maintain control, trying to keep your hooks in me. It ends today. You have 2 choices. Leave me and my family alone completely. No more letters, packages, or contact attempts through any channels. Or I go public with everything. Every detail. Every piece of harassment. Every threat. Your choice. They stared at each other across the table. Finally, Patricia spoke. And if I agree to leave you alone, you'll do what? I'll live my life. You'll live yours. Behind bars where you belong. We'll never speak again. You'll become nothing to me. A footnote. A cautionary tale I might tell Bennett someday about why you choose your partner carefully. Patricia's eyes flickered at Bennett's name. You named her after him? Yes, Sydney said simply. And she'll grow up knowing what kind of man her grandfather was. How he loved and protected his daughter. How he sacrificed everything to keep her safe. That's the legacy that matters, not yours. Patricia was quiet for a long moment. You've become hard. I've become strong, Sydney corrected. There's a difference. Now give me your answer. Leave us alone or deal with the consequences. Patricia looked around the visitation room. At the guards. The other inmates visiting with their families. At the gray walls that would be her home until she died. When she looked back at Sydney, something had shifted in her face. Acceptance, maybe. Or defeat. Fine, she said. I'll stop. No more contact. No more contact through anyone, Sydney emphasized. No lawyers with fake estate matters. No ex-cellmates sending packages. No online harassment. Nothing. I understand. Sydney stood up. Good. If you break this agreement, if I get even one suspicious email, I'm going to every reporter I can find. Are we clear? Patricia nodded. We're clear. Sydney walked toward the exit. Didn't look back. The guard let her through the locked door. Then another. Then another. Each one taking her further from Patricia. Further from that chapter of her life. Morrison was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his car. He straightened up when Sydney emerged. How'd it go? He asked. Sydney took a deep breath of free air. It's done. Really done. They drove back in comfortable silence. Morrison didn't push for details. Just let Sydney process. When they got to our house, Sydney practically ran to the door. My wife met her with Bennett. Sydney took her daughter and held her close. Buried her face in Bennett's tiny head and just breathed. It's over, she said. I looked her in the eye and ended it. Over the next few months, nothing happened. No packages, no emails, no harassment. Patricia Walsh kept her word. Sydney's life became peaceful in a way it hadn't been since her father died. She went back to work part-time, brought Bennett to visit us twice a week. My wife would babysit while Sydney did therapy sessions with clients. Bennett became the center of all our lives. Sydney was good at motherhood, patient and attentive, but she also set boundaries, didn't hover, let Bennett explore and make small mistakes. She was determined to raise her daughter differently than she'd been raised, with security and love, but also truth. On Bennett's first birthday, Sydney threw a small party in our backyard. Same spot as the wedding, same group of people, Kelly and a few other friends, my extended family, about 20 people total. Bennett sat in her high chair smashing cake into her face. Everyone laughed and took photos. It was perfectly ordinary, perfectly happy. Sydney pulled me aside at one point. I want to thank you again for everything this year, for being here, for being the dad I needed while I figured out how to be a mom. You've been a great mom from day one, I told her. I'm trying, Sydney said. Some days are easier than others. I worry sometimes that I'm going to mess her up, pass on my trauma, make her afraid of the world. You won't, I said firmly. You know what real love looks like because your father showed you. You know what protection means because he protected you. Bennett has that same foundation now. You've given her that. Sydney smiled. My dad would have loved her so much. He does, I said. Wherever he is, he sees her. He sees how amazing you've become, how you survived and healed and built this beautiful life. Sydney's eyes filled with tears. Happy ones. I wish he could meet you. You would have been friends. I think so too. That night, after everyone left, Sydney helped us clean up. Bennett had fallen asleep in her car seat. My son carried her to the car carefully. Sydney lingered at our front door. This feels like a full circle moment somehow. Bennett's first birthday in the same place we got married. The same place I learned to trust that good parents exist. You'll have many more moments like this, my wife said. Many more birthdays and celebrations. This is just the beginning. Sydney hugged us both. I know, and I'm not afraid anymore. I used to think my mother would always cast this shadow, that I'd never escape her, but I did. And Bennett will grow up never knowing that shadow. She'll just know love and safety and family. That's the best revenge, I said. Living well, being happy, raising your daughter in light instead of darkness. Sydney nodded. My father would have said the same thing. They left that night. Sydney buckled Bennett into her car seat, kissed her sleeping head, got in the passenger seat next to my son. They waved as they pulled away. I stood in my driveway, same spot where 3 years ago Sydney had collapsed, sobbing. Same spot where I'd accidentally triggered her trauma by calling her daughter. But everything was different now. Sydney wasn't broken anymore, wasn't running, wasn't hiding. She'd faced her past, confronted her mother, set boundaries, and now she was free. I found out why no one will mess with my mom. My mom's this 4'11" woman who works at a library and knits scarves for charity, but I've watched grown men literally back away from her at grocery stores and cross streets when they see her coming. I found out why last week, and it's absolutely terrifying. When I was 8 years old, some punk teenager kept breaking into cars in our neighborhood, hit everyone's car multiple times over several months, stealing whatever he could find. Phones, wallets, loose change, anything valuable left visible. This kid was relentless. Didn't care about security cameras or motion lights. Just kept coming back night after night like some kind of criminal ghost. One night around midnight, he smashes my mom's passenger window with a crowbar and steals her entire purse. Inside was $800 in cash, our rent money that she had just withdrawn from the bank. Also, her credit cards, driver's license, house keys, work badge, everything important. We called the police immediately and filed a report. The cops were sympathetic, but said there was nothing they could realistically do. No cameras caught his face. No witnesses saw the break-in. No fingerprints on the glass, just another case number. My mom just nodded politely and thanked the officers for their time. She seemed unusually calm about losing $800. 3 days later, she's spending every afternoon at the library after work researching on computers for hours, printing out pages of documents, making dozens of phone calls, taking detailed notes in that tiny, precise handwriting. Turns out she'd figured out who the kid was from security footage at a nearby gas station, cross-referenced timestamps, tracked his route backwards, found his social media from a partial license plate reflection, found his address, school schedule, friends, family members, job, everything about his entire life. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. During her investigation, she discovered his mom was having a full-blown affair with their neighbor, 3 houses down, hotel meetings twice a week, romantic weekend trips, secret calls, the whole betrayal package. My mom spent 2 weeks documenting everything like building a legal case. Screenshots, printed emails, credit card statements, photos, meeting times, locations, more thorough than any private investigator. Then, she anonymously mailed detailed evidence packages to his dad, his mom's workplace supervisor, grandparents, their church pastor, and half their congregation. She also sent copies to the affair partner's wife, their teenage children, their employers, and homeowners association. Both families imploded within 72 hours. Parents screaming in driveways at 2 a.m., police showing up for domestic disputes, moving trucks the next week, mom lost her job, dad filed for divorce, affair partner's family fell apart. They had to move across town in complete shame. The break-ins stopped that exact day. Here's how everyone in our neighborhood found out what she did. The kid's dad was so grateful to whoever exposed his cheating wife that he went door to door asking if anyone knew who sent the evidence packages. He wanted to thank them personally. When he got to our house, my mom answered in her floral apron, looking harmless as always. He explained the whole situation, thinking she was just another neighbor who might have information. My mom listened sympathetically, making concerned noises at all the right moments. Then she said sweetly, "I'm so sorry that happened, but I'm glad you found out the truth before wasting more years." Something about how she phrased that made him pause and look at her carefully. After an awkward silence, he asked, "Wait, was it you who sent those?" My mom's smile didn't change. She just said, "Your son broke into my car and stole my rent money." I told him through his bedroom window that actions have consequences. The dad stood there in complete shock, staring at this tiny woman who just admitted to destroying his entire family with research skills and stamps. By the next day, he told everyone on our block exactly what my librarian mom was capable of doing. Turns out my mom made a mistake. The evidence she gathered about the affair was accurate, but she had identified the wrong teenager as the thief. The real car burglar was his older cousin who borrowed his crowbar. The kid's family got destroyed. His parents divorced, his life ruined, all because my mom was so certain she had the right person. She didn't find out the truth until last year when the actual thief got arrested for a different crime and confessed to our break-in too. The wrongly accused kid, now 22, spent years in therapy, dropped out of school, struggled with depression from watching his world collapse. My mom tried to apologize, sent letters, offered money, anything. He never responded, until yesterday when he finally sent one message back. "Tonight, you'll understand exactly how I felt." I stared at my phone screen for a solid 3 minutes after reading those words. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone twice. Mom was in the kitchen making her usual Tuesday night dinner, humming along to some oldies station on the radio, completely unaware that her past had just shown up in my text messages. The sender was listed as Jasper Holbrook. I remembered that name. He'd been the quiet kid 2 streets over, the one whose family had the massive blow-up that summer when I was 8. The one whose mom had moved out in the middle of the night, whose dad started drinking heavily, whose little sister had to switch schools because of the bullying. The one my mom had systematically destroyed while trying to get our $800 back. I should have told her immediately. That's what a good son would do. Warn his mother that the person she'd wronged was planning something for tonight. But I didn't. I sat there at the kitchen table, phone clutched in my sweaty palm, watching her chop vegetables for stir-fry, and I didn't say a word. Maybe I wanted to see what would happen. Maybe after years of watching people literally cross the street to avoid my mom, I was curious what someone who'd lost everything because of her would actually do. Or maybe, deep down, I thought she deserved whatever was coming. "Levi, you want extra peppers?" Mom called over her shoulder. "Sure," I managed to say, my voice sounding weird and tight. She glanced back at me with those sharp brown eyes that missed nothing. "You okay? You look pale." "Just tired from work." The lie came out easily. I'd gotten good at lying to her over the years. When you grow up with a mom who can track down anyone's deepest secrets with a library card and internet access, you learn to keep things close to the chest. She nodded and went back to cooking. I watched her move around the kitchen with practiced efficiency. This tiny woman who'd taught me to read, who'd sat through every parent-teacher conference, who'd worked double shifts at the library when money was tight so I could have new shoes for school. The same woman who'd demolished 2 families because she was convinced she had the right person. The actual thief, Jasper's cousin Trent, had been arrested 8 months ago for breaking into a pharmacy. During questioning, he'd confessed to dozens of break-ins over the years, including ours. The cops had called my mom to let her know they'd finally caught the person who'd stolen her purse all those years ago. She'd gone quiet on the phone, asked them to repeat the name, then asked where the suspect lived at the time of our break-in. When they said it was Trent Holbrook, Jasper's older cousin who'd been staying with them that summer, I watched all the color drain from her face. For 3 days after that call, she didn't speak, just sat in her chair by the window, staring out at nothing. On the 4th day, she started writing letters, apology letters, to Jasper, to his dad, to his sister. She sent money, thousands of dollars from her retirement savings, tried calling, sent emails. Everything got returned or went unanswered. "They have every right to hate me," she'd said one night, her voice hollow. I ruined that boy's life over a mistake, but that didn't stop her from being the same person. Just last month, our neighbor's teenager had been playing music too loud late at night. Instead of just asking them to turn it down like a normal person, Mom had researched the local noise ordinances, documented every violation with timestamps, and filed formal complaints with the HOA. The family got fined $500 and the kid's car got towed for parking violations, Mom had also documented. The fear never went away. If anything, people were more careful around her now, knowing that she destroyed a family by accident. If she could do that much damage while being wrong, what could she do when she was right? My phone buzzed again. Another message from Jasper. "Your mom home?" My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could warn her. I could call the police. I could do a dozen things to prevent whatever was about to happen. I typed back, "Yes." "Good. I'll be there at 8. It was 7:32. 28 minutes until whatever Jasper had planned. Mom plated the stir-fry and set it down at the table. We ate in silence for a while. Just the sound of forks against plates and the radio playing something by the Beatles. "You're quiet tonight," she finally said. "Long day." She studied me across the table. "You've been acting strange for a few days now. Something you want to talk about?" "Everything," I wanted to say. "I want to talk about how you destroyed a kid's family because you were so certain you were right. How you've never met a problem you couldn't solve by digging up dirt on someone. How people are terrified of you and you don't seem to care. How I'm terrified of you sometimes." "Nope," I said instead. "Just work stuff." She didn't believe me. I could tell by the way her eyes narrowed slightly. But she let it drop, went back to eating. The clock on the microwave ticked over to 7:45. I'd seen Jasper around town occasionally over the years. He'd dropped out of high school after his family fell apart, started working at a warehouse, moved into a cheap apartment on the edge of town. Last I'd heard, he was taking night classes at community college, trying to piece his life back together. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, looked 10 years older than his actual age. All because my mom had made a mistake. At 7:52, I heard a car pull up outside. My heart started hammering. Mom heard it too, looked toward the front window with mild curiosity. She wasn't expecting anyone, hadn't ordered anything. This was unusual. The doorbell rang at exactly 8 p.m. Mom wiped her mouth with a napkin, stood up, smoothed down her cardigan. Wonder who that could be. I followed her to the door, my legs feeling shaky. Through the window next to the door, I could see Jasper standing on our porch. He was wearing a dark jacket, hands in his pockets, face expressionless. He looked calm, too calm. Mom opened the door. For a second, she didn't recognize him. Then I saw the recognition hit her face like a physical blow. Her hand tightened on the doorknob. "Jasper," she said quietly. "Mrs. Brennan." His voice was flat, emotionless. "Can I come in?" Every instinct screamed at me to say no, to shut the door, to call the police. But Mom, to my complete shock, stepped aside and held the door open wider. Of course, Jasper walked into our house, into our living room where he stood awkwardly near the couch. He looked around, taking in the normal, boring details of our life. The knitted throws on the couch, the family photos on the wall, the bookshelf crammed with library sale finds. His eyes lingered on a photo of me at my high school graduation, Mom's arm around my shoulders, both of us smiling. "You have a nice home," he said finally. "Thank you." Mom's voice was steady, but I could see her hands trembling slightly. She clasped them together. "Jasper, I know there's nothing I can say that will fix what I did to you and your family. I've tried to apologize, tried to make it right, but I understand if you can't forgive me. If you're here to tell me how much you hate me, I'll listen. You deserve that much." He laughed. It was a sharp, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. "You think I'm here for an apology? I don't know why you're here. Your text said I'd understand how you felt," I blurted out. "Tonight. You said tonight I'd understand how you felt." Jasper turned to look at me, and I saw something in his eyes that made my blood run cold. Not anger exactly. Something colder than that. Something broken. "You're Levi, right? I remember you. You were just a kid when it all went down." I nodded, not trusting my voice. "I wanted your mom to feel what it's like," Jasper continued, turning back to her. "To have your whole world fall apart because of someone else's actions. To lose everything. To watch people you love suffer because of a mistake you didn't even make." Mom stood perfectly still, barely breathing. "What are you going to do?" "Nothing." The word hung in the air. We both stared at him. "Nothing?" Mom repeated. "I'm not here to hurt you, Mrs. Brennan. I'm here to tell you what you did to me, so you can understand exactly what your research skills cost." He sat down on our couch without being invited, and I noticed his hands were shaking. "My parents got divorced. Dad blamed Mom for the affair, but Mom blamed Dad for never being around enough.